Hi, Judge Andrew Napolitano here, and you are on Freedom Watch with my guest and very good buddy, Fox News Channel's chief national correspondent, Ed Henry, who just wrote a new book. It's called 42 Faith. Discover the hidden strength behind the greatest baseball legend, the great Jackie Robinson, which I was very happy to read and write you a blurb, which came from my heart.
You wrote one of the best blurbs.
But for this lifelong Yankee to admit that the greatest baseball player was not a Yankee, only for you.
And you said the greatest teammates.
Yes.
It wasn't Mantle and Maris. It wasn't Ruth and Gehrig. It wasn't even Mariano and Jeter.
It was Branch Rickey and Jackie Robinson, and this is their story.
I appreciate it.
How has the Syria bombing changed the foreign policy of the Trump administration?
I think it's been a massive change in just a matter of days. I don't want to overstate it, but on the other hand, I don't think you can understate it right now, because this is a man who campaigned on the America First platform,
right.
The Steve Bannon idea. And it's interesting that this is all happening, this stepping up of the pressure in Syria, not just the airstrikes, but now you see Secretary of State Rex Tillerson saying the reign of the Assad family is coming to an end. They are ratcheting this up and all but saying regime change, which sounds like a Rumsfeld kind of move, not a Trumpian move.
Didn't Donald Trump himself say one of the stupidest mistakes in the history of American foreign policy was the invasion of Iraq and its stated purpose of regime change?
Absolutely.
Isn't
so they're not using the phrase, but they're basically there saying they want Assad to go. The question is, now, on its face, Assad is an awful dictator. If he can be removed, terrific. However, what happens the next day?
Okay, but
is this Iraq or is this Libya?
Okay, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend. He's fighting Al-Qaeda and he's fighting ISIS.
Right.
Don't we want him to do that alongside of Putin?
That's my point, which is, so who takes over? Does ISIS gain strength? Did they put a puppet in there running Syria, and then all of a sudden the country's even worse than it is now?
Let's see. Regime change in Libya. How did that work out?
Did not work.
It's one of the greatest disasters in modern history.
It's lawless.
Right, right. All right.
But I should say that I think the president should be commended for showing leadership with the airstrikes in terms of, you know, when one of the biggest failures of the Obama presidency, and I covered it very closely, was drawing the red line in Syria and not following through. And so, look, we can't now be in a straitjacket and say, well, if the red line's crossed, we have to bomb them every time. I get that there are limits to that. But on the other hand, look at the provocations from North Korea. This is a dangerous world. And this president stepping up and saying, we're going to act, does have power.
So does the aircraft carrier going towards North Korea and do the 59 missiles aimed at the airstrip in Syria tell us more about Steve Bannon than his banishment from the National Security Council?
Yeah, it may, because it really does.
Does the president still talk to him?
I think the president still talks to him, but is he listening, I think, is the bigger question. There is a split, and this is why it's not just palace intrigue on a separate but related matter about staffing at the White House. There's all this talk about a shakeup coming, whether Bannon will be out, will Reince Priebus be out. Frankly, I don't know. I've been talking to very close advisors to the president who say changes are coming. It may just be Bannon getting a title change. It may not mean him being out. But for all intents and purposes, this is why it's more than just chatter and palace intrigue. This is really a battle for the heart and soul of this presidency and which direction he's heading. But is it the Bannon way? Is it the America First? Or is it the Jared Kushner, Gary Cohn from Goldman Sachs, a more pragmatic...
He used another word that Dick Cheney used to use. Neocon.
Yeah.
Is this the neocon?
I mentioned the word Rumsfeld a few moments ago.
Okay, you did.
I hinted at it.
Isn't Bannon the ideas guy behind Donald Trump? Does Donald Trump have anything he believes in if he can change on a dime?
Well, this gets back to where some conservatives were in the campaign, and then the quote-unquote never-Trumpers, who said, we don't know who this guy really is. And they actually think he may be a New York Democrat.
Right.
Now, if you're Gary Cohn, who also, by the way, you know, used to help run Goldman Sachs and basically is a New York Democrat, could have served in the Clinton administration if Hillary Clinton had won. He's all for Donald Trump being a conservative Democrat, moderate Republican, because Cohn, as well as Jared Kushner, the son-in-law, they believe that that's how you govern. You got to move to the middle. They may be wrong, but that's their philosophy.
What is your favorite Jackie Robinson story in this book?
One that stuck with me. I mean, there's a lot of baseball stories. If you're a baseball fan, you'll love it. But, you know, all the pressure he faced, all the intensity, and yet, you know, he rose above it. How did he do it? I believe it's because of faith. That's why we call it 42 Faith. But an image stuck with me throughout the writing of this book. Rachel Robinson, his wife, is still alive. And she talks about how he had risen to great heights. He overcame all this adversity. He's with the Brooklyn Dodgers. He breaks the color barrier. And yet, he came home from Ebbets Field every night to a little apartment on 34th and 6th Avenue, right by Macy's Herald Square, not far from where we are right now. I walked by there the other day. And she said he'd come home at night, and before bed, he'd get down on his hands and knees and pray to God.
Wow.
And I know we share a Catholic faith.
Right.
And no matter what faith you are, the fact that we can fall down, you get back up, we're imperfect. Jackie Robinson said many times, there are better Christians than me. I do the best I know how, but I don't want to let down Mr. Ricky, Branch Rickey, who was a Methodist and very strong with his faith, and his mother, Mally Robinson, who instilled it in him at an early age. People don't realize Jackie was going the wrong way in Pasadena, California. He joined a gang. He had a criminal record. It was his mother with her faith and a minister named the Reverend Carl Downs who pulled him back and got him on the path.
You are going to sell a boatload of these books.
I hope so, because I know you have a lot of fans.
Yeah.
But no, it's baseball season.
Yes.
Jackie Robinson Day, April 15th. The 70th anniversary of his first game.
Congratulations to you on this
I appreciate
work.
it. Thanks for all your help.
Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for your friendship.
Anytime to drop a hat. From New York, defending freedom whenever they let me, Judge Andrew Napolitano. See you next time, America.